It would be easy and certainly understandable to focus on the many troubling events that have gone on in the world this past year. But you've heard plenty about all of that. There's also been no shortage of reasons for hope, as David Pogue makes clear.
Good morning. Well, you may remember 2024 as a year of bad news. For example, what am I doing? Why would I remind you? But there was also great news this year that you might have missed. We begin today with murder hornets. These giant bugs arrived in Washington state 4 years ago from Asia. They can wipe out entire hives of honeybees and even kill people. If they were to spread, that would be bad news. So authorities set up traps, tip lines, and tiny tracking devices. And by December 18, entomologist Sven Spichiger announced,
now we can officially say that eradication has been achieved, and it's a significant victory.
Humanity won, nightmare zero. But zero is only one good number. 20,000 is another. 20,000 Americans who didn't die of drug overdoses compared to last year's total. A 17% decline.
The really great news is that we've seen a historic decline in overdose deaths in the past year, the largest decline in overdose deaths ever recorded in history.
Magdalena Cerda is a professor of epidemiology at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine. So, Dr. Cerda, the key question is, why did this happen?
We have a lot of hypotheses. One of them is that there's been a really concerted investment in access to naloxone, which is a drug that can be used to reverse overdoses. Also, what we've seen is a shift from people injecting drugs to people smoking drugs. There's also been a decline in people just using drugs, like fentanyl, among adolescents and young adults.
And within epidemiology circles, is this a big deal?
Absolutely. Of course, there's still more than 90,000 people who've died of an overdose death in the past year, and that's unacceptably high.
Thank you, Dr. Cerda.
Yeah, of course.
Remember New York's LaGuardia airport? The one with the low ceilings, the narrow corridors, and not enough gates for today's big planes? It was dim and dingy. It was hailed as the worst airport in the United States. Remember what Vice President Biden said?
I think I must be in some third world country.
So in 2015, they started building a whole new airport in stages over and around the old one, and then demolished the original without ever shutting down the airport. Airport critic David Pogue has the verdict. Well, one thing's for sure. It's not dim and dingy anymore. Now it's big, bright, and airy, flooded with natural light, more efficient security, super cool art.
New York, New York.
Including this computer-controlled waterfall. And the planes are now closer to the runways, so there's less sitting on the ground. The critics sing a different song now. They call it the best airport in America. And at this point, there's only one thing left to do. Start the whole thing again at JFK Airport. Back to you, David. Thank you, David. Artificial intelligence has been in the news almost daily this year, mostly about how scary it is. What gets less coverage is how AI is predicting the weather better, adjusting traffic lights more efficiently, diagnosing diseases more accurately. But the biggest AI story of the year might just be AlphaFold. Its purpose is to map the shapes of proteins, infinitesimal, folded up molecules too small to see with a normal microscope.
And so for a long, long time, we've tried to figure out what are the shapes of these, because if you get the wrong shape, you often get disease.
John Jumper is the director of the AlphaFold project at Google's DeepMind division. He says that if we knew the shapes of the proteins that cause many of the worst diseases, we could start making drugs to fix them. Until AlphaFold came along, how did we determine what the shape of the protein was?
It was really an incredibly difficult process, maybe a year of time, maybe $100,000 in expense to get a single answer, to get just one.
But AlphaFold works thousands of times faster. This year, it finished calculating the shapes of all 200 million known proteins. The scientific world went crazy. Better yet, Google then offered its discovery to the world for free. Over 2 million researchers are already using it to tackle malaria, cancer, Parkinson's, COVID, diabetes, and much more.
I am certain that we have saved or will save lives with AlphaFold. We will have medicines that we didn't have because of this technology. I think that's just...
This year also brought a little good news, especially for John Jumper. He just won the 2024 Nobel Prize for Chemistry. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. We won't be able to mention the 24 states that raised their minimum wage this year, how the UK shut down its last coal plant, how you can now renew your passport online, the 800 school districts now using electric school buses for cleaner air and fewer child asthma cases, the first successful return from the dark side of the moon, how the hole in the ozone layer is healing faster than anyone expected, or the Postal Service's new mail trucks. They may have a little bit of a platypus vibe, but they finally offer airbags, air conditioning, side doors for unloading, anti-collision systems, and most of them will be electric. Have a joyous new year, and remember, bad news breaks suddenly, but good news happens everywhere, all the time. Good morning, everyone.